And we're live. What's shaking, guys? Today is March 5th, 2025. Welcome to State of the Networks. Here we go. Oh, managed to turn my light off entirely there. Super fun. Let's see. So, top of the news here. These lights are going off, going crazy here. Onocoy is, there we go. Let's see if I can get my thing a little smaller. Cool. So Onocoy, actually, the big news there is that NordicMiner just released a really good video breakdown. I'm not sure if it just happened or if that's been there for a while. What's up, Kevin? But I saw that it popped up and that they're promoting it. He always does a really good job of walking through a project, so go check that out. In anyone land, this is actually pretty interesting. I'm going to use it on an upcoming trip. We'll talk about this trip in a second. I'm heading over to Vegas for to go find a bunch of LoRaWAN folks at the Indoor Ag Conference. And again, we'll talk about that in a second, but I'll use the anyone router when I do that to keep things private. First to ask about the Hivemapper bees. What's up, Joe? Okay, and then in, let's see, Helium land, we've got a bunch of stuff going on. I felt like the Movistar news was old, but maybe I just missed a bit. What's up, Siegfried? Zerptwerp, blue rare isn't rare enough. All right, I don't know what that is. So anyway, Helium in Mexico is doing a bunch of stuff with mobile. And I guess the big news there is that if you are deploying in Mexico with an outdoor hotspot, there's a 50% off rebate. So that's news in Helium Mobile. In Helium kind of regular and Foundation, it looks like, oh, there's my other light. HIP 141 has made a bunch of governance changes. The very short version that's super simplified, what's up, Jay, is if you don't vote, you won't earn on any staked stuff or any stake tokens you have. I don't know that I have any stake tokens, so this may not matter for me. Oh, hey, it's Joey. Hang on. But, and maybe Joey can clear that up for me in my usual massive ignorance. What's up, dog?
Hello.
Hello. Let's see, where was I? I was on Helium, and I was just talking about HIP 141 and this governance voting you don't earn if you don't vote business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the very short takeaway there is get on there and vote. What's up, Siegfried? I've got no VEHNT. You know, I'd have to go look. I think I stopped all that stuff a while ago and I was like, nope, this is just too complicated and I don't feel like it's working that well. So I'm going to get out of it and just leave my HNT doing its own thing, but could be wrong. Let's see. And I'll blast through the rest of the news, Joey, and then we'll come back and hit that stuff. In Wi-Fi, I think there's no Hivemapper's next. So Joe did beat me to this Hivemapper B thing, but Hivemapper's just been pushing a ton of news about, basically they did this really hard thing, which was create a piece of hardware that, as far as I can tell, actually works. And they're just super excited about it and super proud of it. And I think they should be. That's really cool. Hardware is hard. It's taken them a long time. I think if you look at the beginning of Hivemapper from where they were when they started, which was you bought, I mean, I still have the camera I bought for them, which is like a Black Zero, I don't know, not Black Magic, but some kind of camera that you onboarded onto their network. And then they went from that to the first iteration, the second iteration, and now I think it's the third or fourth iteration is the B. So super cool to see those guys crushing there. In Dabba land, they doubled their community referral rewards after getting feedback from their community. So that's cool to see that they are that they're listening. Yeah. I'll leave that one there. Let's see, DIMO. They've had some R1 issues. So if you're having issues with your R1 or you're running a Tesla on DIMO, I saw, and they're going to ship out 300 to 500 a week. So that's a shitload. It seems like a shitload, which is super cool. And then in Spexiland, what's going on with those guys? They've been doing a bunch of posting on kind of focusing on utility. So that is cool to see. I know it's been like fun in meme coin land, or maybe not fun if you actually participated, because everyone I think who gets into meme coins gets rugged. Like you think you're a millionaire for about 7 seconds and then realize at second 8 that you didn't move at second 2, which is when you needed to move. So it's like a fun little gambling thing, but probably not for the faint of heart. So Spexy concentrating on utility and saying, hey, here's what we're doing. This is how it works. They also announced 4,000 members in Discord. Bully for them. Hell yeah. And then some confusion around MetaMask. So I think that's pretty standard stuff, is that we're blending the regular world and crypto, and you're going to have people saying, how does this thing work? But I like their focus on utility. And then I think the second to last piece that I've got is for WeatherXM, which is, they launched WeatherXM Pro. And then I don't know if we covered this last time, but they've done a partnership with Synoptic, which is a giant global entity. That's huge, huge news. I hate to say that in crypto, but that's a pretty big deal. And I think that was a week or two back. We might have missed it just because we skipped it last week piece. But yeah, very, very cool. And then the last thing I've got, geez, did I update? Hell yeah. Nice work, Kevin. I did update the Meta Scientific logo here, is that I'm heading off to Vegas to Indoor AgCon next week. So if we do this, Joey, I'll be live in Vegas. I may or may not. And super excited to go there. What's up, BFG Neil? I spent yesterday writing a program to scrape the Indoor AgCon site and let me know which speakers were using LoRaWAN so I can focus on the right people. And then I'll spend a little bit of today going through all the businesses and making sure I go and talk to the businesses that are using LoRaWAN. Because as you kind of skim through it, you can see some of them, but to do it in a programmatic way and make sure that I maximize the time there for the podcast and make sure we highlight as much LoRaWAN as we can is pretty damn important. So, and then I got, I think the last piece of MetSci news is just this morning, I got a request on X from a dude who's like, hey, I just signed up. I bought some credits. Do you guys do consulting? I'm going to need some help. So I thought that was super cool. And I can either help them use MetSci or I can pass them on to folks like Neil who may offer like a full solution depending on what these guys want to do, but I haven't talked to them yet. Let's see. Flywheel Systems. Kevin, I don't think we have the logo. We just have your stuff down on the bottom right. But if like they do all the graphics for this show. So if you want to learn more about Deepin and if you want to get that fucking ripping t-shirt or figure out how you're going to do large deployments, I think Kevin had one of the largest fleets in Helium, so certainly knows as much as anyone about deploying a ton of miners, is go check them out. Okay, Joey, I think that's my news. We're all the Deepin news in 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Fuck yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, my lights are going fucking crazy here and I can't control them. They're super bright. But other than that, we're good.
Yeah. I can't seem to get my computer to use the camera that I want it to.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah.
Yeah,
Always something.
There's all kinds of nerd stuff here. Suburban Crypto, what's going on? Zerptorp. Who is Zerptorp? Have I talked to you before? I feel like I probably know this dude, just don't know the name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we had some big stuff, I guess, in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, we missed last week's call. We had the Helium community call that kind of overrides our time slot.
Yep.
But I think that week we released the network conversion, the self-serve network conversion stuff for mobile network.
Okay.
And so that's been exciting to see people pick that up. Yep. Yeah, and that was we even threw up the in the can thing, I think, for a second.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, those docs are out. People can go take their Ubiquity network or whatever sort of enterprise grade thing that has the RadSec passpoint support. Load a couple of configs, point a couple servers, and you are now offloading for Helium Mobile and getting rewarded for it.
Pretty badass.
So that's pretty cool. And then I think an exciting detail that some folks have overlooked is you can do this anywhere. So if you're in the EU or whatever, you can set it up. Of course, you're sort of waiting for a Helium Mobile subscriber to come stumbling along, but
oh, really? So if I go to the EU and I hang out near Neil's place and he's got a Ubiquity network and he's enabled this, then I would
you would auto connect and pay him for bandwidth. So yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, I wouldn't personally pay him. Like the system will handle all that, but like for me it would work. So I can have like a nice little tea and crumpets with Neil and know that I'm on the Helium network.
Yep. So yeah, and I think just to clarify, like the Helium Mobile subscriber service is not available in countries outside of the United States right now.
Right.
But people with those phones do travel, and so this would sort of offset all of their like roaming needs and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty cool.
619 is going directly against one of the fundamentals of the internet, which is that porn leads everything. So no, I don't think we can get rid of the 10x boosted zone in the red light district. Like that's how the internet credits, dog.
The funny thing there is those boosted zones exist because those are areas where people frequent and they hang out for long periods of time and use lots of bandwidth. So there seems to be some sort of correlation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird. People like sex. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, who are these weirdos who enjoy having a good time with their bodies? This is bullshit.
Yeah. Those we've been doing some interesting work starting to analyze the verification mapping data to get better insights on where more of those highlighted zones might be. So some cool work happening in the background on that end of things. That's the sneak peek part of it. One of the other things that I had on my list that I found to be so there were a couple of really cool use case things that came out last week, and I kind of want to touch on a couple of those. I think we've talked about torch sensors before, but they built a wildfire detection system that you can go put out anywhere. Those guys have been hustling on deployments. They've been traveling all over the US setting these things up. So I'm kind of excited to see more from those guys as they get some publication out there. SenseCore's been firing off a lot more tweets lately. Go take a look at their SenseCore Canada handle. Okay. But their devices, go plug this into commercial or whatever, water systems, and then it alerts you when there's a leak. And so they're showing off these things where it's like a little pinhole leak happens somewhere, nobody notices, but you got a notification about it and saves you, endless money. And then Chris Dutton, who is a professor at the University of Florida. I think I had that right.
I'm trying to get Chris and Torch on the MetSci podcast. So yeah, this is
beautiful. Yep. But those guys have been using helium for a really long time in their environmental studies. So they're measuring carbon flux in the sort of wetland environments of Florida. And so they are able to go deploy off-grid stations, put all these Seed Studio sensors out there, get all the data, and he's sort of been effectively the technical lead for his graduates to be able to get all this data and do really cool stuff. So that's been really fun to see.
Yeah, that's super rad. I think he said he was traveling this week and next week, but I'll get him on the week after that. So
yeah, he'd be a good one. I've chatted with him a couple times in the past, and yeah, super smart dude. So cool to see that kind of stuff starting to move its way into academia. There's a huge opportunity for impact there.
Yeah. Let's see. 619 in Mexico, they want outdoor deployments and not indoor, the opposite of the U.S.
So in Mexico, they want offload. So there is actually no distinction between indoor and outdoor. The difference is that the indoor units haven't been certified yet. So, don't go shipping one down there because it's not going to get activated. In fact, it might even get banned.
Oh, really?
So, do focus on the outdoor stuff for now. There's going to be vendors locally in Mexico selling these things, so you can get them that way. But if you have an outdoor unit, you can take it into Mexico, go deploy it. But yeah, those indoor units are not certified yet. So that's the distinction on that end.
Huh. I wonder if I should run my my outdoor unit on the house down to Mexico. Hey, go get this thing working.
Yeah. So proof of coverage is enabled in all of those expansion zones right now, but there is no data transfer with Movistar yet. So all of the infrastructure pieces are in the works right now. So furious building in the background, and then as soon as that's ready, those sites will be immediately activated, and you'll start to see that data traffic.
Badass.
Yep.
Let's see. Gotta catch up on the chat here. I don't know, Joe and Zerptorp, what's going on with this Hivemapper thing? It seems like you like them. What's the simping thing? I've seen people use that word before, but I don't know what it means. Sorry, I'm behind the times on fucking how you trash
loving a thing for I don't even know. Yeah, who knows?
Okay, that's why I see all outdoor and TJ for 619. Yeah, that's a helpful explanation. Let's see. Dude, I wanted to use this new thing because we have, and that's not Adobe Illustrator, that's AI. It looks remarkably like Adobe Illustrator, just doesn't have the lowercase I. Dude, I have been fucking cranking on this stuff. It's such an exciting time to be alive right now and using this, and I think it's going to get out of control and completely wipe humanity off the map in the next 2 years. But until it does, I'm going to have a super good time with it.
I've got actually a point on this one. So I think I threw a tweet up about this, but I stumbled across this service called val.town.
What is it?
And
DAL
it's
dot town?
VAL, like value,
Oh yeah.
dot town.
Val. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and it is, for the sort of technically minded, it's kind of a mashup of Pipe Dream and like a serverless functions, like Amazon Lambda or something, right?
Yeah.
And so you can jump in and just in the interface write some code, and it'll run on a server, and you can serve a web page and do all that kind of stuff. But it's also got an AI prompt. And so I think it's Claude on the back end. And I was able to jump in there, create an account. I grabbed a payload off of ChirpStack, off Medio Scientific, for one of my temperature sensors. It was the sauna sensor, right? It's just one that I know I'd worked with before.
Yep.
And I told it, make me a dashboard that looks kind of like this other thing, which was my sauna sensor page. And I just gave it the URL. And I said, here's the payload that you can expect. And it just, boom, popped out a whole web page that did exactly that. So ingested the data, stored the data, visualized the data, gave me insights, all that kind of stuff, all in the time of about 20 minutes, just sort of casually poking around this thing. Yep, that's the link.
That's this thing. Okay.
So I would definitely consider it for any like quick, want to get a dashboard up, have a website around it. You can upgrade your thing and have custom domains, all that kind of stuff. It was super cool. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's rad. I've seen that, and I've been working with this lovable.dev, which is a little bit, I don't think it's as maybe robust on the back end side, but super fun to work with. But yeah, I mean, it's just insane how much is happening. What were you saying, sorry? Let's see, Zerptorp, you ordered a few. Okay, so let's just address the Hivemapper thing to the best of my ability, which is I don't talk to those guys a ton. Every so often, Ariel will reach out and we'll just shoot the shit pretty briefly. But I'll say this. All this hardware stuff is super hard. I don't think those guys are trying to fuck anyone over. They're probably working as hard as they can to get all of this stuff out there. And so I get it where it seems like for us as kind of normal people, used to Amazon, where you order something and it's there the next day or 2 days later, is that Deepin is just different. And it has to be this thing where you come into it saying, I'm going to lose all the money I put in here. I am not making any bets that I can't lose and not miss even a single cup of coffee. Nothing will work at the beginning. And I'm making a bet on this brand new business model that would be really cool if it did work, but is also kind of this business model of last resort for businesses. Like, if you go in with that attitude, then it's like, oh yeah, of course it's going to take them 2 years to do hardware. Like they're a tiny company trying to figure this out. They're going to make all kinds of mistakes. They're not going to ship and have their logistics down in the same way that Amazon does. Like, you just got to be able to give them a lot of grace. And I think there is a piece here in Deepin where we don't typically give that grace because we're so used to the rest of the world. So 100% Zerptorp and Joe, like, it sucks that they're not shipping. It sucks that you put your money in a year or 2 or 3 ago and you haven't gotten hardware. Like, I get that. That's not cool. The flip side is that, fuck, I hate to say it, but that's what you should expect. Like, I would, at this point, and Helium may be the exception, and it's still complicated and doesn't always work, even for me. Like, if I'll use some IoT thing and try to do something, like, there's not a ton of documentation on how to do it in the same way there is with ChirpStack or TTN. Like, we can't get around that. It's a brand new application of this system. Is you have to come in expecting, like, this is going to be harder. It should be better if it works. It should be more even and fair if it works. But until we get to that point, it's going to be harder. It's going to be more expensive. It's going to be less reliable. Like, that's just, and I'm sure all of the CEOs be like, it's kind of bullshit. We're doing a better job. It's like, I'm not sure we're there yet.
Well, I think, and part of the story is that Helium was lucky that they were able to leverage off the shelf stuff. The LoRaWAN gateways, they reached out to Rack and they're like, hey, can you put this thing that you have in a different box? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. Up, down, and sideways. The people have already recognized I meant to point at it, so the camera's wrong, but the hotspots, right, are an ODM thing that you can go find them out in the marketplace.
Yep.
But Hivemapper had a unique challenge to solve, which is they needed hyper precise location targeting, they high resolution cameras, they need depth perception, like all that kind of stuff. And those first ones, they were able to leverage some of the off the shelf stuff. Luxonis was like the HDCS and being able to do the depth perception, things like that. But I think the lessons learned through that was that they actually needed to sort of work from the ground up. And so it's actually pretty incredible that they have knocked that out in a year and a half or whatever it is. But it also speaks, they're building to a demand side, which I think is probably the most exciting thing for me. And so they've been painfully slowly unblurring the images in their Twitter posts of like who it is that they're working with. But Mapbox, TomTom, Trimble are leaders in the mapping space, right? Like they need that data. They need, like, this is one of those things that's the same thing that we find ourselves in with like Helium and Helium Mobile. Is like the incumbents need these DPINs. And so I give them all of the props for sort of, taking the hard choice to go do the truly hard thing there.
Yeah. And I think, I see both sides. I see Joe's point where it's like, hey, you got to overpromise and underdeliver. And I get it on whatever, they should have learned a few key points. I bet they did. My guess is, and having started a couple hardware projects and finished less than I started for sure, if it's hard for like me as a pretty nimble, 1 or 2 man show to get something like even prototypey done, it's going to be way harder for someone to say, hey, we're going to, like, even though it seems like it should be easier, it's going to be way harder to get a finished product that works every single time, that when you push the button, it does what a button push is supposed to do. Like, that's just going to take a long time. And it's super easy certainly for us to sit on the sidelines and be like, dude, what's that great commercial? I'm not a football guy, and Max will kill me because I'll fucking butcher this. But there's some like football quarterback walking out of a supermarket, and he sees this old lady, and she's carrying, she's carrying like a paper bag. And I might have told this story before. And the bottom of the bag drops out and dumps her groceries all over the pavement. And he just looks at her and he's like, I'd have double bagged it. Like, it's super easy to like see where everyone else fucked up. But it's just
totally
like, hey,
hindsight's 2020 on that stuff.
As my buddy from high school says in Indiana, hindsight's 50-50. Which I love hearing. So I get it, Joe. Like, I think you're right to be like, hey, what the fuck? Why isn't this thing here? But the flip side is it's super difficult, and nobody gets through life without making mistakes, or starts a business without making mistakes.
So it's one of those things too that, I think there's an ethos in crypto and DePIN to be hyper transparent about what's going on too. And so, we saw that with Helium, and Keenan's in the chat. I'm sure he was the when ship guy, and pinged Coco every single day trying to figure out when his hotspot was going to show up. And that was just like the orders. Helium could have totally just sat on it and say, surprise, there's hotspots in your country. But instead they said like, yeah, we're going to ship them. Oh, the ship. So that's the trade-off, right? And I would take the transparent version every single time. Because otherwise, like, you just don't even know what the roadmap looks like.
Well, I locked this. That's why it's on there, I think. Because I wanted to do something else. There you go.
My bandwidth is in rough shape today. But
I'll also say, let's see, Hector put this in there, is that GeoNet has done a really good job of shipping stuff. There's plenty of stuff that they're not as good at. I wish they'd unblock me so I could go and help them out a little bit more. We've had our differences in the past, and to be frank, like, we didn't handle that as well as we could have. But I want to make sure that they get a shout out for like, hey, those guys are shipping. Whatever else you think about them, they're shipping stuff, and I think that's super cool to see Mike doing such a good job getting stuff out there and making sure that at least on kind of the greater DePIN narrative, there are companies out there who are shipping. So and then to 619 transparency is key.
And speaking on Onocoy or GeoNet, The raise from Multicoin was pretty impressive. So
Yeah.
knowing that the Multicoin team, they're very deep on the analysis, and they don't make those moves lightly. So that's a really great stamp of approval from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because Max and I talk about this a bunch on the kind of deep in business side, is that it's a funky time to be around as a deep in. And we're in this really weird spot where it seems like it's really uncertain as to like what's going to happen next and when it's going to happen. And one day, crypto's up because God bless President Trump is going to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin. The next day it's down because who knows, Epstein Island, like whatever the fucking crazy reasons are. It's such a crazy market to build in, but the best projects are just getting their heads down and building and saying, hey, if they haven't launched, we'll launch when we launch. If they have launched, like we're shipping as fast as we can, we're building as fast as we can, we're delivering to users. Like those are the kind of marks of the best companies. So,
Yeah. I mean, Siegfried can attest to this. Like I've been talking about this self-serve network conversion thing for 3 months, I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. Like we're transparent about it. We're working on things, knocking out pieces. Oh, we found bugs. We're going to fix those. So that's the nature of the development of the stuff, whether it's hardware, firmware, or software, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And I think Wingbits is shipping too. And I believe, and I think I got this wrong last time. I thought that Mike at GeoNet had designed the Wingbits thing, but I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure they're building them, but they're shipping those things too. So that's super cool. So yeah. That's the deal. All my stuff is up. I think the stuff on my roof that is down right now is BirdNet, which is not a deepen at all. But you build your own microphone, plug it into a Raspberry Pi, and then it listens to all the bird song and tells you what birds are there. Like super fun little project. But for whatever reason, my Pi went offline, I don't know, like 2 months ago, and I'm like, I'll get to it. But like if you want like a fun nerd
guarantee
project,
you,
what's that?
in like 4 months, there's going to be a bird deepen. Like you just,
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were a company thinking about starting a deepen, I think that the advice I'd give is like just build hardware that works, and then you can always either be a fucking idiot and just bolt crypto on, and you'll probably be super successful in the market, but you'll end up rugging people because you haven't thought it through. Or, and this is clearly a shill, is hire a company like Max and mine, and will help you bolt on crypto and make sure it actually works and it makes sense, and that you don't make all the mistakes that we see a lot of companies making even now. I mean, it's mind-boggling now that we see companies announcing they're like, oh, we're going to do this one thing, we're going to do a different thing. It's like, dude, history's out there. It's pretty straightforward how to build this thing. Let's see. Oh, there is a bird thing that's a deepen. Is BirdBot? Is it? Huh. Yeah.
Speaking of the deepins doing weird things, I did a Twitter space. I think it was last week, and it kicked off in this really weird conversation, which is just the takeaway part for me of this argument was that the cost to entry should be sort of matched to that, like how much you should make, or something along those lines. So like, if you have the opportunity to make like $1,000 a month, then this thing should cost you $10,000 or something. I was like, oh, that's just weird and idiotic and extractive and like, like what do you? And so like, some people seem to be approaching these things from this just sort of pure extractive economics side of it, when the thing that actually matters is the utility, and you want to push that like barrier to entry down as low as possible. Because if you're building this thing from a deep in sort of value standpoint, the reason you're doing it is for reach and scale and redundancy and all of that other stuff, right? That was just, I don't know. I had to, that's been weighing on me, and I called him out on that thing. I was like, "You're wrong. That's a terrible take." Like live on the Twitter space, but
I think, I mean, at the risk of sounding like an old guy, like get off my lawn and you kids don't know shit, it's like we're going to see a ton of that because there's all these new projects who see Helium and they're like, oh my God, they launched, they had almost 1 million hotspots come online, I think 800,000 at the peak. If they're even reasonably positive, they're like, holy shit, they still have, I think it's over 200,000, might be 300,000 online, which makes it 10x the biggest network of any other LoRaWAN, we can do the same thing. We'll just do something similar, but we'll do it better. And we saw this with companies trying to do the same thing in LoRaWAN. I think all of which, maybe Crank is still around and kind of last gasps, but I mean, or maybe they're cranking, probably not. But they all like, it didn't work because of timing, execution, community, like all these different pieces, some of which you have no control over. Like you don't know what's going to happen the day your project launches. Could be a banger, could be not. But there's all kinds of things that you do have control over, like how transparent you are, how frequently you communicate to your community, how good your hardware is, how well it works. Like, does it actually solve a problem for customers who are willing to pay to solve that problem? Like all those things matter as well. And it seems like for a lot of these projects, they're run by folks who are like, oh, I'm just going to get $1 million in crypto and I'll figure it out after that. It's like, that's a terrible way to plan.
Yeah.
Like it's a great way to accidentally pay for your house. It's a terrible way to plan a business.
Yeah. Well, or to build something of like true value that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, 619, the ESP should cost $500. So.
Yeah, clearly. Someone I'm sure will take a screenshot of that. Like, look what the advice that guy's giving out.
Yeah.
There you go. You just picked up 2 more. Yeah. No.
I think you get banned for 2 more. I don't know how those rules work.
Oh, is this DFastLean? Are you the guy that got kicked off of, what was that one project? The entropy thing?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, entropy. I think that's what everyone's nodding or
Okay.
winking about in the background here.
Is this a scam coin only episode? I don't think we've talked about, well, no, I talked about one that I think is maybe not a scam, just not well executed, but no, MC 1979. This is not a scam coin only episode. I don't know why I'm such a sucker for like responding to people who are idiots. Most of you guys got kicked off entropy. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because you were doing something you weren't supposed to be doing. Is that?
It's a mystery. Yeah. Joe getting kicked off of something.
That's hard to believe. I mean, the thing is, Joe, like I fucking love Joe because he's super smart. He knows all this stuff, but goddamn, that dude knows how to like rub people the wrong way. And it's a pity because it's like, oh, I think if you were more positive, you'd fucking crush way more. And I would love to see that. Rather than being like, it's funny to be negative when you're a young guy in the military. Like I've been there, like everything sucks and we should just fucking bomb everybody to the Stone Age. And then at some point you're like, shit, I know a lot. I could help a lot of people. I can make something way better. Why don't I do that? And I would love to see you do that, but it's your life. You do whatever the fuck you want. Let's see. Oh, you can't sell it. So everybody got kicked off. Okay. Entropy keeps changing their rules. I mean, here's the other thing with entropy is, fucking A, they said they were like a meme coin, bullshit coin from the beginning.
If you sold it, you came out ahead. Like you still got an ESP32. Like go slap a LoRaWAN chip on there. Have some fun.
Yeah. Joe has principles and doesn't sell rugs to people. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say he doesn't have principles. I just think MC 1979, like in general, Jesus, what am I, 46 or 47? What I've seen so far in the world, having done, I don't know, like 15, maybe 14 businesses, maybe I'm overestimating, and gone bankrupt and had fucking buddies die and have like all kinds of great and bad things happen. I've had like super big wins and super big losses. Is over time, if you're positive and helpful and constructive, those things just tend to work out in your favor. And over time, if you're negative and destructive and unhelpful, those things work against you. Like those aren't my rules. That's just what I've seen in my life. And so I would like to be able to pass that on and say like, hey, I've been the idiot that's like, fuck this place, we should burn this down. These guys are doing whatever. I've been that guy in my 20s and maybe early 30s. And then at some point, like I looked around and was like, oh, I could make the world better and focus on the shit that I could do. And that's like a much better outcome for not only me and my family and my ability to pay my rent or my mortgage. It also makes a better world for everyone else. So, but fuck, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. Don't change, Joe. We need more deep in rage episodes. I mean, there's something to be said for that. So, let's see. I will be at the White House on Friday, right? I don't know. What's happening at the White House on Friday? I missed it.
This is the crypto summit
Is there a crypto summit? No.
Now everyone is tweeting about going. So it's
I think with this
something
stuff,
of a meme, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm going to, on Friday, like, no, I'm going to let crypto like crush on its own. And I'm sure there's going to be some super good good folks who are way more articulate. And then I heard this term commercial the other day on a podcast. And commercial refers to people who are like, I don't think I can be this. I've tried, but they're like this super well-spoken, super articulate, like really believable big business people. And that's not me. I've always been just like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'll drop a couple F-bombs. This is how I think it works. And then I'll make some mistake and people are like, that guy's a nice guy. He knows a lot, but he's not commercial. Like the commercial guys are the folks I think who are like in banking and hedge funds and the rest of it who are just able to talk that better talk. And that's not me. So let's see. How can you make a world better when 90% of the Helium IoT have been rugged? I think, MC, it's one of those things where you have to look at it and discern for yourself, figure out for yourself, is that true, right? What does rugged mean? And then do you think that that is actually true? Because I don't think that's true. I think you can look at these different things and say, whatever, this project rugged, that project did that. And in some cases, it's true. Like pollen, rugged. No one's arguing with that. But to say that these projects who are still building, who are still here, who are, responding to their community, who are doing things by a vote, and general kind of majority democracy, to say they rugged is, I don't know. I think that's disinformation. Yeah, I think.
I can't even begin to imagine what that is trying to imply.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of these folks is maybe they came in late, or maybe they just haven't wrapped their heads around how Deepin works or what the expectations should be. And it's a difficult thing. I can see that if I told someone about Deepin, I've got a cool thing to announce, but I'll talk to Jeremy's point, is make sure, or to Jay's point, if you are a VEHNT holder, we covered this a little bit earlier, but make sure you vote before midnight UTC tomorrow or assign a proxy. I better go check and see if I've got this. Because what happens if I don't, Joey? Do I lose all my VHNT or something?
No. If you, so like there's
remove my ignorance,
anyway,
please.
Like you can delegate your vote, but if you delegate your vote after the person you have delegated to does their vote, it doesn't like directly apply. I think on the protocol team, they're going to do a bit of a roll up thing after the vote to make sure all of that stuff is included.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be too much of a burden on you, thinking about that stuff. Again, there is an important part, which is like if you want governance rewards for your VEHNT, you do need to vote on at least 3 of the things. If your proxy doesn't vote for, the whole set of stuff, you'll want to make sure you get in there and vote for a working group election or whatever that is. A really important note is like you can still vote even though you have proxied your vote to somebody else. So, that proxy is your default for that, but you can go and say like, I'm going to make some little adjustments underneath, and that doesn't affect what that does on the top for you. So you still maintain control, and you should try to vote and participate directly wherever you can. But it's a nice fallback to be able to say like, Nick's got it or Jay's got it or whatever.
Yeah. And for me, and this is, I don't know this financial advice, but I would just delegate all my shit to Jay because he seems like pretty reasonable and he thinks things through. It's like, 90% of the time, I bet we're going to agree, and I'm fine with being wrong 10% if I just forget about the entire thing. Okay, I want to hit this piece here. And I think this public debate is really important. So I'm glad that you're being on the other side, MC. Democracy of people with the largest HNT holdings makes it easy to pass every HEP. Yes, 100%. If there is a better form of governance, please propose it. This governance thing is really difficult. You're seeing it in the United States right now and across the world, is that we've got whatever it is, 51% of people who are psyched and put this one guy in office, and 49% of people who are not psyched and feel unheard and are super pissed. Like, that's just governance. It's messy. And if we do majority rule, that creates even bigger problems. So I think there's pieces there where you have to look at the thing and say, is it broken? Yes or no? And then B, can I fix it? Or do I have a clear and definite fix that will 100% work? And if the answer to the second thing is no, I'm not going to tell you to shut the fuck up, but I'll tell you to work hard on fixing it. Because it's not like there's a great system that people are just ignoring. There's just not a good system. I've worked on this a bunch. I've talked to everybody from folks who've been encrypted a long time and have huge bags to folks who are Harvard professors, literally, in governance. And no one has said like, hey, psst, there's this like really good thing that nobody uses because they're all too dumb. It's like, nope, a bunch of the super smartest people in the world are working on this, and it's just a fucking hard
Yeah.
thing. But yeah,
And
that's
you
what
know,
it
I
is
think
right now.
it's worth calling out too that like the sort of heavy hitting votes and all of that, that part is the mobile vote, right? Like did not go the way that Nova Labs was expecting. It did not
Yeah.
go the way that most of the community was expecting, and it was because, you know, sort of a formerly unknown element came in and swung a vote sort of last minute and caused a whole bunch of chaos in
Kerfluffle,
trying
yeah.
to consolidate.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's challenges in every direction, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, it's a hard problem. Let's see Kevin's thing, and I don't know. God, I got to talk to Ecamm Live. I always forget. I say it every time. I wonder how many people have staked HNT for years and haven't been paying attention to these new rules about voting to get rewards. I'm guessing there's at least one, Kevin. I would guess like 30% of the people fall into this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 10%. But yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of people who just lose out. That's it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got oh, the scams are coming, or the whatever that is.
How do I cheap viewers on Stream Boot? I can ban that.
Yeah.
Goodbye, final location. Hip should be controlled by hotspot holder, maybe. And I mean, Joe is like nailing it. Have you heard of a DAO? Nobody does governance. That's the thing. Like people barely vote in the real elections where it matters. If you look at the percentage of people who vote in the U.S. election, it's still, I would think it's such a hotly contested election, we would have had 90% of voter turnout. It's like, no, not even close.
Yeah.
Later, Siegfried.
Yep. See,
So, yeah, governance is super hard, dude. It's and I think the other piece is, look, if you've got a solution for governance, you are welcome to come work with Gold Hawks, and we will make a shitload of money together because we get asked for this all the time. You are equally welcome to start a competing deepened consulting firm because you will fucking crush, and I will be cheering you on because it'd be so nice for me not to have to do that. So like, get after it, dog.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to shout out for, it's a current failing of every governance system that we've looked at for Helium, is that the network users are not represented. They aren't token holders, like, all that. So it's just like the thing that you're actually building for, not the people that are represented in this. And so it's actually an onus on all of the voting bodies to try and think about that utility side every time they get in there.
Fucking light was just too goddamn bright. Sorry.
Okay.
You're going to lose half my face, but I'm sure everyone's fine with that. Hey, I had another cool thing that came up that's kind of Helium-ish, and it certainly came into my sphere because of Helium. And that was, I think it's the Sense Cap or Seed. Maybe they're the same thing. I always get confused. The T1000E Meshtastic little like credit card size tracker. So as you know, and I think most people on this show know, because we've been talking, we've had this conversation for 4 years. I got into Helium looking for a lost paraglider, looking for like a way to find a lost paraglider if their cell phone or GPS didn't work. Basically got sidetracked into Helium for the past couple of years. And just the other day, my local paragliding club, a couple of whom have said like crypto's a fucking scam, we're not touching it, came up with a chat and they're like, oh, we're trying to do this thing. Have you guys seen this Meshtastic device? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I have. And they're like, there's this company called Seed and they make these things called T1000Es. And I think they can make them so that you've got one, right? Perfect, Jay.
Yeah.
They can redo the firmware so that it can act as, I think I'm getting this right, an FLARM, which is basically like anti-aircraft collision service. That's like the super simple way to dumb it down. And they're like, we've had some problems, and there's a paragliding club out in Colorado that flies a ton around sailplanes, and so they've been testing out. I think they've got 10 or 15 of them. And they're like, it works really well sometimes, but sometimes you can accidentally turn it off and basically brick it until it runs out of power, or you find like a nerd who can help you. And then sometimes the alarm beeps all the time. Like, they're like, hey, we're really going to have to work on this. Does anyone want to help us? And I was like, I could just talk to Betty at Seed. How about that? And I talked, and they're like, yeah, that would be awesome. So I reached out to Betty. And to their enormous credit, they're like, we would love to support this. We'd love to help you with figuring out the firmware. We'd love to see if we can ship these things with firmware. And we'll help you guys get some into your hands for testing. And then we'll help you guys make sure that it's easy for folks to buy these things. So I'm super excited to to get to a point. My dog is humping my leg. That's distracting. I'm super excited to get to a point where I can kind of come full circle on this paragliding, Helium, Neshtastic, LoRa, LoRaWAN thing, and contribute back into the community. So, yeah, super cool.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's like that's a long arc, and like a lot of this like hardware development has come out of Seed trying to like tap into the Helium network and all that other stuff. That's super cool. And then Meshtastic's been growing up alongside the whole time. So
yeah, and Starwatch is crushing with that. So it is super cool. Let me get the guilty part here. Come here, Marvel. You're gonna be out, and we're gonna fucking dox the leg humper.
Oh, there you go. Oh, the shame.
He was working happily on his little toy, and then he decided that my shin looks super sexy. Fucking dogs.
I'm lucky my dog doesn't do that. I don't know. We got real lucky.
Yeah, and that's probably a 2% out of the time, or 1%. He almost never does it, but yeah, proof of dog. Maybe I should earn some crypto for that, Jay.
Yeah.
I think the only bummer on the T1000 is that Seed had sent me one early on, and I looked at it. It was kind of cool, and then I sent it up to Germ. I was like, dude, check this thing out. It's super neat, and I haven't done anything with it since. So, but I think we'll get a couple more, and
they work pretty great. The nice thing was like they've got memory in them to log stuff. So if your relays don't go through, like you can hold on to it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's a good platform.
Oh yeah, there's another thing that I saw. I'm trying to get this guy on the podcast, even though it's a competitor. It's called Mioty, Mioty, and it was a funny thing. I found this guy Harold something. I think he's out of Germany, and I was
that guy
around, in AF, and I'm like, hey, does anyone know anything about Mioty? And they're like, yeah, there's a dude on LinkedIn who basically spams about how it's so much better than LoRaWAN. And I was like, oh, I guess it's the same guy. And I'm going back and forth with him. I'm like, hey, dude, would love to have you on a podcast to talk about this stuff. It's mostly LoRaWAN focused. And he's like, well, I'm out of LoRaWAN and I'm into Mioty. I'm like, hey, it's really good for us to keep an eye on technology and see what's cutting edge. Would you like to come on? And he responds, he's like, how many watchers do you have? Is it worth my time? This or that. I'm like, dude, it's fucking free coverage and it's a brand new podcast. But I guess you do you. Some people don't like to spread the word.
So you know how Deep in crypto have their trolls and tribes and all that he is that for LoRaWAN, and I was shocked to discover that this exists. But apparently he's just historically been anti-LoRaWAN no matter what the alternate protocol is, if it's cellular versus LoRaWAN or what. He just doesn't like it, and he's been very dogmatic about it. So yeah, he's an interesting character. I've run into him a couple of times. I post something about IoT and jumps into my comments.
So like, oh, it'll never work. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. There's been some discussions at the LoRa Alliance, and it's just like he's just saying incorrect stuff. And it's like, what should we do? And it's like, I don't know, he's just a troll. Just be louder. Don't worry about it. But,
Or maybe I don't give him a platform, or I think it's actually much better to give him a platform and then say, hey, at least a mini one episode, and say, look, everybody out there should be as informed as possible. And then you can make your own decision about whether you're going to go with whatever, BLE, LoRaWAN, Wi-Fi, Mioty. Like, I don't really have a huge dog in that fight. Like if LoRaWAN, not that there's even a stock, but if LoRaWAN goes to 1 billion, like I don't make a penny. It's like, it doesn't matter to me. If Wi-Fi goes to 1 billion, I don't make a fucking penny. BLE goes to 1 billion, like it doesn't matter to me. So it's just like, what's the best thing? And sometimes I think from what this dude was saying, in dense environments, Mioty is better. Like, okay, cool. Like, noted. If I have a client with a dense environment and that's actually true, then I'll recommend that.
Yeah, but it mimics LRFHSS. Which is a LoRaWAN protocol. So there's I'm not going to go too deep. If you want to do a Mioty episode, I have a recommendation for who you should talk to there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Now I'm trying to get Alper on. I just wrote him the other day, and then because the head of the LoRa Alliance, and I think you might have a connect there. But I've got a couple folks. I've just been like cruising through LinkedIn, inviting people on, and I think I'm psyched for it because it's like a whole new world for me to
cool.
Get out there and spread the word.
Yeah, I'll at minimum be talking to Alper in a week, so I'll follow up with him. Actually, I need to send him stuff before then. I need to pull together growth stats for the Helium IoT network and share those with him. It's a lift, but it'll be a good press for us.
Yeah. No, it's this whole thing's super fun. I'm trying to think of what else is going on. Mostly, like my focus is on the MetSci stuff right now. I just got some logos embroidered on the shirt so I can walk around look semi-official. I've got a dude I'm working with who's going to run audio and video for me at the conference, so it should be pretty good, and I can do a good job on the initial thing that Neil had suggested, which is like, hey, can you do like an episode that we can share throughout Helium on LoRaWAN? It's like, all right, I will use this indoor ag conference to get a bunch of content for that.
Cool. Yeah. So. Find some Helium users out there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chuvio is going to be there, and who's the other one? There's one other that's I think a Helium. Oh, Dragina is going to be there.
Sure.
So that should be good to go to their booth. But I think one of the things that came through both in the working group calls that we had and just talks is that it's not going to help us to talk to the same people we've already talked to. We got to find a bunch of new people and say like, hey, love your system. You like use it. Tell me about how you're using LoRaWAN in business. And then as an aside, it's like, oh, check out Helium. I think that's a decent way to do it. All right, dog. Fucking A. Better get to your sauna tonight, right? Is Wednesday is the sauna hot day?
Well, it'll heat up. Yeah, this evening. I probably won't be there, but
okay.
I get to know about it from the indicator in my living room.
Yeah. I'll have to fly into town one day and surprise you at this mysterious sauna. Is it something? Yep. I don't think this is possible, but is it something that I could look for that sensor and then whatever triangulate it with Neil's system and find where the sauna is? I'm assuming that's not possible.
If I was publishing the metadata, yeah, you could. But
okay.
That's the only thing that gets pushed over to the public-facing side of it is the temperature logs and time. So,
got it. Cool.
Yep.
Super cool. All right.
Yeah.
That's almost everything. I think the MetSci dashboard piece, if anyone's ever looked at that, you will have noticed that the rain tank is not reading correctly, and that's because the water is full on it, and that sensor doesn't like it when the water level is closer than its minimum distance. And so sometimes it reads 16 gallons instead of 500 or nothing. And that's been like a fun little thing to troubleshoot in my microscopic fair time. Okay.
Yep.
Is it Ash Wednesday? Is it like a big religious thing right now? Yeah. If it is, then like go Jesus or whatever you say. But yeah, fuck yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Get after it. Cool. Joey, thanks for coming on, man. Good to see you. And I will see you
excellent.
Probably next week if I'm doing this thing live. And if not, then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cool. Yeah. I think eventually I'll probably do a call with you from Vegas too. Gotta figure that out. But.
Come on out to AgCon. And we got to do the Great Basin Dark Skies thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, top secret. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
We're out.
All right. See ya.